Stacey Gota, Portfolio and Content Director at Ashton Media, the organisers of the brand new event for senior leaders in the L&D community, the L&D Symposium, taking place on the 25th and 26th of November in the glorious Hunter Valley. If you aren't already coming along, you should definitely check it out. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to be joined by Julie Catanach, Head of Leadership, Talent and Learning at Suncorp Group, who will be joining us to speak at the L&D Symposium in November. She'll be talking all about the importance of reskilling and upskilling to adapt and thrive in these changing times. Julie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Stacey. It's great to be here.
Oh, thank you. To kick us off, it would be great to learn a little bit more about the work you're leading at Suncorp and what you and your team are focusing on at the minute.
Oh, that is such a broad question. I look after the learning, leadership and talent space at Suncorp. So we do everything from executive recruitment through to the job ready training across our contact centres in insurance and banking and wealth. So at the moment, we are doing some really exciting projects, one with our executive leadership team, which is looking at giving them their experience virtually that they would normally do in a study tour globally. So they are meeting virtually with executives around the globe on all of the latest developments across the industry and other industries that leads and may inform them of our strategy going forward. And it's been a really wonderful thing to be involved in. We've been working with Maximus on that, and I think I've learned just as much as they have along the way, if not more.
I'm sure. And it sounds like you're leading some really interesting work at Suncorp at the minute, and you know, these changing times. And you've had such an amazing career across ANZ and NAB. But what excites you most about your role as an L&D professional?
It's just a privilege to be an L&D professional. There is nothing better than helping someone to continue to learn and grow. And I think that teachers know that when they're teaching at secondary level and senior level, and that continues into the corporate world. And I think that really hit home once for me when one of the team went and achieved a Cert 4. And it was the very first qualification one of their family had ever achieved, or the highest level of qualification. And I hadn't thought about that because I've been lucky enough to go to university, do my masters, all sorts of things. But just to see the delight, the pride in somebody achieving something like that in the workplace just made this role so much more worthwhile. And I love it. I love it every day.
Oh, that's such a lovely story. That's great. Fostering a learning culture, that empowers the whole organisation to seek out and take advantage of those learning opportunities seems to be, one of the biggest priorities for L&D leaders currently. How are you and your team at Suncorp working to foster a learning culture?
Incredibly hard, because as you know, and as all the research says, it isn't an easy thing to do. And you think that it would come naturally because that's at the core for every learning person. There is that love of learning. So we think it's something that comes naturally, but it doesn't come naturally to everybody. We're certainly working very hard on what we call a Future Ready program, and that's about reshaping people's skills, reskilling for those capabilities that will be required as a result of automation and digitisation, and what we call the future skills that are emerging from there. And people are getting quite excited about that. They are getting excited about learning something new. But a learning culture is much more than that, and that's actually fostering it as a normal part of performance, actually getting people to really seek out and respond to feedback and to grow and develop within their roles. Something that they need to recognise always is that there is always an opportunity to learn, whether they're talking to a customer or they are learning about a new product, or really they're just sitting within a meeting. There is something about learning cultures where everybody sees that opportunity. And what we're really focused on doing is helping people to see that opportunity and helping them to see the benefit of that opportunity.
And so much has changed over the past 18 months with, how we live and how we work. In your opinion, has the pandemic highlighted the need to invest in L&D?
There is no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. And I think also it's provided us with that opportunity to do things in new and different ways and actually convert some of the many naysayers that, we can't do that via Zoom. No, we can't do it virtually. And now it's about how about we do it virtually? Can we get together virtually? I mean, that is our lives. For you and I, we're in lockdown right now. We don't have a choice. But it provides a great deal of flexibility, which actually means we can deliver much more learning. We can deliver it in different formats from an hours perspective. We can still do the 1 and 2 day programs. That is exhausting though across the internet waves. But I think though what is really nice is that short, sharp webinar, and we can come together, we can do working groups across the platform, all of those things. I think it's really shaped that. But what we also are seeing is that we have accelerated technological change, and there is no doubt that that will continue at the same pace. We have got used to it, and I think that will mean that we really need to reshape those skills. Just as I said before, we are going to need new things, new ways of responding, and that will see us look at learning and the types of learning we do much more critically going forward. And we are probably going to be studying in the workplace much more frequently than we ever had before, because things will change more frequently than they ever have before. Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's an exciting time to be in learning, and I just love that it's become the focus of every consultant in town. And it's really funny, we had one in recently that said, you need to get your learning programs need to be at least 90% digital. And we all looked at each other and went, we are 100% digital. So I think it's changed probably faster than they've even thought it has.
And that brings us nicely onto our next question. So looking ahead a little bit more here now, and you've already mentioned, future skills and the role of automation and digitization. Looking ahead over the next 5 years, how do you see the way we learn and deliver those learning initiatives changing?
I think that's really hard to imagine right now, and I know that it's going to change rapidly. I think, I've seen so many of the things that we are seeing out of very much the Nordic countries, things that we're starting to see already in primary and secondary education start to really influence what's happening at a tertiary and corporate level. And in fact, we're probably the laggards in that respect. And I think that will change as we start to see more on the job, sort of in the flow of work learning. And everyone's talking about that at the moment, but I'm not sure they really know what that means. And I think it's about shaping it. It's about using AI to support learning, to support what we're doing within the workplace. And that bite-sized, just-in-time learning, I think, will become something that's much more the norm than it is, I guess, the exception. And we are going to see much more of the YouTube type learning where people are setting that out themselves. For young people and those that are coming through into the workforce now, that is a real norm for them. They are so quick at putting that together. I've often had my own children say, "Oh, Mum, I learned that on TikTok," or "I learned that on YouTube," or whatever, and they seek those things out. That's become a natural part of what they do. And I think that will become a natural part of how we provide learning within the corporate world as well.
Yeah. And changing pace a little bit here, what would you say is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That's an easy piece, I think, for me. But at the time, I didn't recognise it. My grandmother used to have a saying that the day you die is the day you stop learning. And at the time, I really thought that was really macabre. And I actually thought that was a horrible thing to say. But, as I've learned and as I've, evolved as a learning professional, I've discovered that is so true, that actually you need to continue to learn. It's a lifelong journey, and you need to reach out for every one of those opportunities if you are going to continue to grow and develop. And I think that's what she meant to say. I think she meant to put it in a much more exciting, fashion, that you should seek that, you should take every opportunity as it arises. But, at the time when you're only sort of 7 or 8, and they say they focused on the death part of that sentence, yeah. I didn't see it for the wonderful piece of advice that it was.
Yeah, that's a great perspective to have. And our last question, what are you most looking forward to about attending the L&D Symposium?
Getting out of this room, I think.
Aren't we all?
That I live in. I'm really looking forward to learning from others. I think we have had that opportunity to connect with a lot of people and sort that out during the pandemic, but I think it'll be wonderful to hear about what other organisations are doing. There is always best practice out there, and what can be converted to right practice for the organisations that we're at. And I'm just looking forward to seeing people having in-depth conversations about topics that I love, and leaning in and sharing and helping others as well. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. Each time it sort of gets postponed, I think, oh well.
November will be the one.
Which is a fantastic time of year, right? It's just an awesome time here in Australia. So we're very lucky. And in fact, actually, that's probably a better time to get together. As you know, it's spring racing carnival for Melbourne and Sydney in particular. So yeah, it's a great time to be here.
It certainly will be. And thank you so much, Julie. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. And I look forward to seeing you in person over a glass of wine in the Hunter Valley come November.
I cannot wait, Stacey, and in some of the best wine country in the world. Can't get better than that.
Heaven. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.